I think, again, like I said, you have to define your objective and purpose very, very, very clearly as to why you're constantly scaling. This is a point I raised earlier. Again, it comes back to the you. Now, please don't get scared in your times as you're doing all this. Like all human beings, we will have doubts about ourselves, self-doubts. Correcta panninirukuma. Ingyo porpa. Control illa. Yaro pudu pudu aal eduthirukom. Suddenly yesterday I was a 10-member team, today I'm 40, I'm 100, I'm 5,000, God knows. Then you're going to create companies within companies. What are you going to do? What's the kind of way forward that you're going to get? You'll have a lot of self-doubts. I remember just a year and a half ago, I was chatting with Mr. Suresh about something to do with Shankara's future. And 3 months down the line, I was in an IPO. He was shocked. He said, "Nethi vandu idalam pesnenge, but suddenly you've gone for an IPO." So I think the whole doubts that an entrepreneur at various parts of your age cycle, you could have family influences, you could have external influences, it could be anything. As long as somewhere in yourself you have a core which is clear. The core also sometimes apne kuncha shake up. Unlike the banyan tree, which is your lovely logo of CEBACA, which talks about strength, the banyan tree probably does not shake because it's got that, it only keeps growing. So here also, you obviously want to keep growing, but being human, we have a constant self-doubts. Mind is not a very steady kind of a thing, so please don't get scared about mind. You get some advice coming from somebody, your wife will say, 50 வயசு ஆயாச்சு என்ன கிருஷ்ணா ராமா கோவிந்தா ரிட்டையர் பண்ண முடியாதா, எல்லாம் அவங்க பிரதர் பண்ணியிருக்காரு, இல்லை என் அண்ணா பண்ணியிருக்காரு, நீங்கள் வீட்டில் உட்காரலாமே, என்ன ஓடிட்டு இருக்கணுமா, வண்டி இருக்கு, கார் இருக்கு, பங்களா இருக்கு, எல்லாம் இருக்கு, எது ஓடிட்டே இருக்கீங்க? This could be a very, very valid. You will suddenly, have this huge fights at home. The wife will say, "Podum, neenga illa, you'll be still running." So there are going to be doubts, there are going to be changes or thoughts in your strategy. I would just say go with the flow. Don't fight yourself. Don't fight strategy, your own thought process. The more you fight, you will be in conflict with yourself. That's where you tend to somewhere derail in your strategies, in your growth, in your scaling of your business. For example, we had in 2010 very clear that retail is probably the way we're going to go forward. We were still 80% steel tube, 20% maybe other products, which was again 99% steel related. 2010 end, one of my suppliers in Bangalore of steel tubes, suddenly he said, my unit is not doing well, would you like to buy it? I had started off as a manufacturer of steel tubes way back in 1983-84. So that desire somewhere inside was to be a manufacturer. So I bought that unit in Bangalore. It was going out of objective. Objective was trading, scaling. We just got into retail. We had just about 15 units, 15 outlets in retail. Suddenly, backward integration, manufacturing. Got a great kick. Even today, if you ask me, I have my greatest moments when I'm sitting in my factories and I watch my production. That I know personally gives me a lot of happiness and a lot of joy. But anyway, that's part of your personal joy and part of what you're doing in business. So backward integration, sudden apne dik marinche. Luckily, I was not a public company at that point of time. Otherwise, all my share price would have crashed. But Manik very kindly said, we've gone up 4-5 times. If I had gone out of my so-called stated objectives. Then in 2011, what happened? Suddenly after 2008, I was a little disturbed. I don't have brothers, I don't have family, I'm not a business family at all. So I was the only family member who was largely doing business. Suddenly, in the 2008, Lehman Brothers, when overnight, 40% stock collapsing, the whole world saying everything is collapsing, price of metals gone, scarce resources, that time things were happening. So America sneezed, we got the cold, viral fever, So after that, I was always, though I was an owner, I was always scared of being 100% owner. So I said, what I call it as the onus of ownership. I don't know if any of you have ever felt it. Depending on your businesses, you will always have sometimes of fear. God, If something happens, it all hits me. I'm the only guy answerable. So you may have felt it. If you've not, great. But then I had this strong feeling then that this onus of ownership was really bothering me. So just for that, I was scouting out to see, can I get somebody else who come and invest in business. I believe partnerships are a failed model. So sorry, I mean, to all those who are partners here in your businesses, but I always am not for a person as a partner, but I didn't mind having an institution as a partner. So as part of my next part of the strategy, I brought in a private equity investor into the business. So they took a small stake of about 30-odd%. So எனக்கு மைண்ட்ல ஒரு பெரிய relief ஆயிடுச்சு. In the process of scaling, I said I also want a little less onus of ownership. So 30% went out. I said I've got somebody at least to discuss something. I've got somebody on a sort of semi-owner level, though they were not involved in day-to-day running of the business. There was some sort of a relationship that was built in ability to exchange views, exchange thoughts. So that is what we did. We had some more money. I went and put up another manufacturing unit in Hyderabad. So again, the scale suddenly went into manufacturing. And overnight, I became the second largest producer of steel tubes in South India, probably for a brief moment the largest. Very shortly, the second largest. Today also we are the second largest steel producer, steel pipe producer in the South. Then Ade momentum, we took over a color-coated roofing company, of which we've got a unit in Coimbatore also called Ganga Roofing. So all this was one mad rush into manufacturing, which was the adrenaline at that time. So the scale was not so much on the trading, the retailing, but it went into manufacturing suddenly. So we put up a pretty large greenfield unit in Hyderabad. The Bangalore unit, we revamped, we went into a lot of process changes. So we just took off on the manufacturing for about 3 to 4 years. Then came the next 2014 was the next moment of, let's say, realization, saying that, what am I doing? Fine, manufacturing, I had your ambition, which was like a child, suddenly you feel like, I'm sure all of you feel it, suddenly you want to eat a lollipop or you want to eat an ice cream and say, let me go and indulge myself. If you don't, please do it. If you suddenly feel like eating a lollipop or some puripu mittais or something which you've done 20 years ago, just let the child come back in you, which is a great feeling. So this was like me going back 20 years, I've done manufacturing, now I had the money, I had the dum, I said, okay, get back into manufacturing. So this, of course, I scaled. It also helped us a lot strategically. It's not that it was just done at a whim, like buying a lollipop or eating a cone ice cream or something. But there was a lot of strategic benefits, which did help me in my retail of steel and retail of the steel products particularly. But I need not have done it just to achieve this. So this was, let's say, a bit of a scaling in something where the direction got pulled a little bit. This is what I'm trying to say. You're focused, your goal is there, but then sometimes koncha dikkapdi marina parvala. If you can afford it, great. Dik marinchi, if you're not at a loss, why not? Indulge yourself, have fun. So ultimately business is about being happy at the end of the day. You don't want to be, Mr. Ravi, are you happy doing the business? Yes. I mean, if you're not happy doing business, don't be in it. So ultimately whatever you're doing, you got to be happy. So that is where the scaling takes a slightly different direction, though a typical school book or a textbook will say that stick to your goals, have your visions clearly defined, don't deviate, yes, by and large, don't deviate, but a little bit doesn't matter. And I went. Then came 2014-15, where we decided that we are largely now very clear we're going to be in the retail. The focus of this company is going to be retail or building products. We changed our name also subsequently a couple of years ago from Shankara Pipes and became Shankara Infrastructure. Then it became Shankara Building Products Limited. So I felt that I have reached my destination now. It took me 25 years to reach what I finally have fixed as my destination. So there were changes, there were ups and downs, but then the destination was finally docked. So I said, now this company is going to be a building products company. So it was a paradigm shift in the way we're doing business. It was a shift in terms of products. Somebody was asking me earlier, there are so many different product lines. Today we deal in cement, we've got construction steel, we do ceramics, we do tiles, we've got electricals, maybe not across all our 130 odd retail counters, but at least a good 40-45 carry the entire offerings. Now this is like putting 20 different industries, different verticals by itself under one horizontal platform. So that's the challenge strategically that we took. This is a strategic scaling up again, please remember. A lot of people when we had frozen this business plan about 2.5 years ago said, it's not going to work. India is very different, disaggregates, sab chote chote hain, all chinna kadegal rukke. Yes, kadegal rukke. Pipeline apnida irundhathu. When I am doing probably close to 1,500 to 2,000 crores in one particular line of business. Nobody is close to me in that kind of an aggregated business. So I mean, when you're looking at lakhs and lakhs of crores of potentials across building products, and I have been largely in some form of building products, so why don't we extend the product offering? So the scaling up went dramatically in the product offerings that we as a company can give, apart from obviously top line. We today are probably reaching about 3,000 odd crores of top line. So that is part of the journey. I mean, ultimately people do measure you by saying what's your turnover, what's this, what's that. That is one part of it, which is, I would say, anyway, you've got to have your financial goals very, very clear. So this part is why scale. Each of you will have different ambitions, you will have changes, you will have routes. So I just took myself as an example to highlight how a company can grow from 1.5 crores in 1995 to a 3,000 crore company by 2019. A journey of about 24 years, no background, no political money, no family in business. Everything, whatever has been earned and put into is by the first generation or first and a half generation entrepreneur that you see standing before you. So, thank you. So this is an example of a country like India where everybody will say that you need backups, you need backend, you have to do, and I have not built a single rupee without bill till date. And these are certain calls that we took in 95, no non-billing. You will have to bill, of course, the scale of the business today, you can't, unless you're cutting your own bills, you can't obviously have cash billing and things like that. I'm a person who's been extraordinarily happy and thrilled with GST coming in, because now I feel all these 25 years, I always believe I've done this, the Ainacholan and the Ottakal race. The schools we used to have that, you run a race with one leg. So finally I feel, the other legs are also now people are either tying them back or my leg is being put down. Because I always had this feeling. My own teams will come at the various retail counters saying, "Sir, 10% cheaper, 5% cheaper, tax add padla." They were not adding the VAT or whatever was the tax then. And today, hopefully, I'm not saying GST is the cure-all of everything, maybe a little bit more of help for the organized players. So I think this is broadly about what you can do with your vision, dream, scaling. Everybody, somebody could have become 10,000 crores also by now. It just depends on that extra drive, the extra ambition. There's another very good friend of mine and runs a company called APL Apollo. And this company is making only steel tubes. Those my biggest supplier till about 2000. Even now I buy quite a lot, but 2006, of course, it was a listed company earlier, but the journey this gentleman started, he's about 8-10 years younger than me. He took it upon, I remember in 2012 or 14, we were having some dealer conference in Malaysia, where he suddenly sprang a surprise and said, I'm going to make 1 million tons of steel tubes. So then I looked at him and said, I was his sort of very close confidant and a good friend, and I was his sort of a conscience keeper in a way. I said, "Kya pagal ho gaya kya? You're talking by the match. Today he was producing probably 200,000 tons, and he said, in 2 years I'm going to make 1 million tons. And he achieved it in 3 years. So there are people, in fact, I was always very skeptical. Can he scale up to that level in such a short time? He was able to scale up. I was always doubting Thomas. This is like 3 times growth, 4 times growth in 3 years. So everybody has their own ambitions, everybody has their own scales, everybody has their own needs. Please, when we talk about scaling, like I said, there are so many options. Scale it to your comfort level. Do not scale looking at somebody. Don't scale competitively. Just, okay, if you have a positive competition and the means to achieve it, great. Please don't do that. If If you can positively do it, do it. A lot of these ego-led battles generally fail because they are not backed with solid facts, they are not solid business reasoning, there is not solid enough any reason. I mean, it's a very personal, very egoistical kind of a reason. So leave that aside. Scale, you can take your pace. You want to grow from 10 to 20 crores, it's 100% growth. 10 to 100 crores, it's again 1000% growth. So I think scaling is ultimately, why to scale is left to every entrepreneur, every owner. Some of the, I'll just run through, I hope I have another 5-10 minutes. Yes. So quickly, how to scale. See, yes, it's all very well to say that, you go on, you have your vision, scale and all that. One, apart from what I said about defining your purpose very clearly, your goals, your strategies, etc., which could of course change. Have, like every country, we say a 5-year plan. Have targets. Please have targets for yourself. We cannot achieve anything without targets. You can aim for the stars, you'll at least hit the moon. Don't start the year without targets. I have worked systematically with targets for the last 25 years. I've got my Coimbatore manager, Mr. Tamil, in April, the whole team, whatever, it was small, started with 5, then went to 10, then whatever, we'll all meet in some place and then work out targets. They'll all come, bottoms up target, in the product level, then so this target setting is very, very important, whatever be your business. If you're doing a 1 crore, you've got to do 2 crores this year, or 20 crores, 50 crores, please specify your targets. Like any country had a 5-year plan. Why do you have a 5-year plan? You've got some goal, something which can be translated to numbers. Don't leave your goals only, it's all very nice to say, I'll have these, very noble goals of saying, but then you've got to bring it down to numbers. Ultimately, numbers matter. However much we think or would like to push away numbers matter. Ultimately, you're today what you are because of your numbers. So you need to have very clear targets both for yourself and for your teams. How much can I do? In the couple, what can I be healthy? Please be very realistic and honest to yourself. That's one thing any good businessman should be is, please tell yourself honestly. You just got to talk to yourself. You don't need to talk to anybody else. Be honest. All of us don't have the same capacity. All of us may not have the same abilities. All of us may not have the same strategic thought. You may not be blessed, or you may have different kind of family setups. So just be honest to yourself and say, this is what I can do given. So if you remember, those engineers, etc., linear programming from college, school, you will have, I do this subject to so many constraints. So there will always be constraints in everybody's life. It could be money, it could be family, it could be your own drive, it could be ill health, it could be good health, it could be whatever. So there will always be, life is always a linear programming model or a multi-linear programming model with numerous constraints that will always be there. So you've got to optimize subject to those constraints. So you will know best how to optimize. Each situation is different. So then, once you have these strategies and these in place and you know how to scale, you have to have, these are what I call the hygiene factors. Systems and processes have to be in place in your organizations. You cannot have something, so you need to have monthly P&Ls, you need to have what is your stock at your fingertips, you need to know your debtors, you need to know your creditors. Very basics of any business have to be, I'm sure most of your businessmen, you will know all that. But I am surprised when we've just acquired a couple of companies where a lot of things are not there in place. They will not know a product category wise sale. Broadly, yes, 5 kodi pannirkom, but 5 kodi, what's your breakup? So that gives me another strategic input as to should I focus on high profit items, less profit items, so on and so forth. So I think you need to have systems and processes in place. You obviously need to have, as Mr. Ravi earlier emphasized, quite elaborately on people, on your HR skills, very, very important. You need good people, obviously, one man cannot run an entire show. You need to have good people, you have to cultivate good people, you have to have your teams who you've got to obviously have leadership skills. If you don't have it, please go and enroll yourself in a class for leadership skills. It could help you. All of us are not necessarily great leaders. That's where I said, as an owner, it's not that all quality will be there with the owner. So you may learn a lot of things from your team. For example, me, way back 20 years ago, when I used to be selling my own tubes, I remember there was this, there was a poultry farmers from interior Karnataka and Davangere. So they were coming and they came as a bank manager, they were getting funding from the bank, so on and so forth. So it was they were using a special kind of tubes for the 2000, single large order. So our bank manager put that, they were bargaining like nobody's business. So finally it came to literally a cost-to-cost selling. I got up and said, no, I'm not going to do this deal. I said, and I walked out of the room. Then my colleague, who's still with me, Mr. Ravi, he's also Ravi, who's been with me for the last whatever 20 years, he followed me and he said, sir, don't become emotional. I know we are not making money on this particular deal, but just look at the volume we are getting. It's strategically a much better. For getting a volume, it's a good sale. Remember, we are going to bill at that time for some 14,000 or some 13,000 rupees a ton.